Guys, welcome back to the Gut Girls podcast. Today we are talking about literally something everyone struggles with, which is the holidays, and they are right around the corner. So, between the food, the parties, the travel, the family dynamics, which are real, and the routines that just kind of fly out the window. We hear this from a lot of our clients, like, how do I do the holidays now as a gut girl? And we know this season can feel like a tug of war, honestly, between like wanting to feel good and enjoy the holidays and then wanting to maintain your progress and be true to yourself and what your body needs. So what I've done today is ask Diana to break down a super simple, totally doable holiday guide. And it's something that you guys are actually going to be able to remember, I think, and use if you're traveling, hosting, or running around with your kids like I'll be doing. So Diana, are you ready?
Yes. And I love this. I love this conversation because I think back about my life before. I feel like I kind of gained more control of it and really started this, this new health journey that I've been on since 2017. And I love this conversation. I love being able to educate people about what I've learned through this because I don't feel restricted. I really don't. When I've changed my mindset and I do these, I think there's 7 different little tips that we're going to go through here that have been just so easy for me to implement during the holidays where I don't feel restricted and I feel like I can be a part of it and I feel like I'm in control.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I think you already nailed one thing though, which is the mindset, right? Like that had to change first before even the tips we're about to give you. I think mindset is the first. And something I always say to our clients is like, at my age, I am now 40, guys. And I think, I've enjoyed the holidays my entire life. Like for 40, not 40, because I've been doing this for so long, but let's say for like a strong, almost maybe 28 years, I did the traditional holidays. So I say to myself every year, like, you had it for 28 years. Like, now do something that's different, be unique, be yourself, and do something for you. So if you're listening, maybe you need to tell yourself that same pep talk that we do. But okay, so I know we have a lot to talk about, but we're going to start with the big one, which Diana and I actually chuckled before we started hitting record. You guys are probably so tired of us saying this first one, but we have repeated it over and over. It's protein first, and that is because it is everything. So Diana, pick up with number 1, which is going to be the protein.
Yeah, and I promise you guys that the next ones hopefully are going to be something new to you, but we have to hit on the protein because it's so important. And this is something that I have really learned over the last, we'll call it almost decade now, is to make sure that I do focus on the protein. I will be totally honest. I'm born and raised in the South of Middle Tennessee, and it's macaroni and cheese, it's mashed potatoes, it's a very carb heavy type meal. And I love those things, right? But that's not what serves me well. We've talked about before on the podcast, I'm not going to go into it, that the first bite that you eat, that's what blooms those first bacteria. And so we really want to focus on protein first. And if you do that, then you can kind of fill up on the protein on, 4 or 5 ounces of protein. That's going to help keep you fuller longer. It's going to help stabilize your blood sugar more. It prevents you from snacking and it prevents you from overeating so much, in my opinion, because I feel like once you eat the protein, then it's like, okay, then the other things can follow. So if I still want to eat a bite, half of the macaroni, a half serving of macaroni and cheese and some mashed potatoes or whatever, I don't feel guilty about it. I don't do that often. So I just kind of pick and choose and I make sure to start with protein. So I would say when you go into that meal, think, Diana said, eat some protein first.
Well, and I love that because it actually, guys, it doesn't, when you do it the way that Dinah has learned to do it, it doesn't require willpower. I imagine that table just full of those amazing carbs that Dinah just talked about. And I think for a lot of people, that's what we hear is, I just can't resist. It's like, once I take one bite, I just have to have it all. So that literally, Dinah just gave you the solution. Don't start with the hyper palatable carb, or you do just momentum, like your gut starts craving it and then you've lost the willpower. But if you start with the protein, it actually takes willpower out of the equation and your body just doesn't even it won't even crave all of the carbs that are laid out before you. So what an amazing start to a holiday season already. So, okay, the next one we're going to talk about is water, which is so hydration, but the specific timing of hydration, which you guys might be blown away at this if you haven't heard us talk about it before. So, Diana, let's talk about hydration, the timing of it, and why this one can surprise people so much.
This one is something that I learned. I did not know this before I was a gut girl. But when you drink matters. We talk about hydration all the time. We want you to stay hydrated. We want you drinking your water. But hear us say that drinking water or alcohol while you're eating your meal actually can dilute the stomach acid and slow the digestion down. So again, I know that could be shocking to people because I hear people all the time say, anytime I say this, they're like, oh, well, I assumed that the water was just kind of washing it down and helping with the digestion. And that's not what's actually happening. Sometimes that actually makes the food sit in the stomach and ferment more, creating more gas, more bloating, that stomach pressure sometimes, and that discomfort that you might feel. So drink your water leading up, sip on that water. Room temperature water generally is even best because that's what our body is. And drinking on that leading up until the meal and not just like trying to guzzle sweet tea or alcohol or water during the meal. I want you to make sure that you kind of focus on doing those things.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. I mean, that tip alone can literally change people's lives because it doesn't actually just apply to the holidays, right? I mean, this is like life tips.
Every meal. Yeah.
Exactly. So, okay, let's keep going. I feel like I hope you guys are having a pen and paper because this is awesome. I'm actually excited about it. But number 3 is move your body because it's a huge part of digestion, like actually supporting digestion. And this time of year, I feel like it's probably one of the best decisions that you can make. So Diana, I know that this is a big routine of yours throughout like the daily, go to, but tell us about how you do your movement, especially around holidays.
I can tell you that I used to, eat Thanksgiving dinner and practically crawl my way to the couch, right? Because you're exhausted after eating that huge meal. You're bloated, you're gassy, all the things. And then you just like get to the couch and want to lay on the couch. But guys, we want you to actually do the opposite of that. We want you to start with your protein, not drink, guzzle a bunch of water during your meal, enjoy your meal with friends and family, have it be more about your social event. And then once you put your plate and put it in the dishwasher or whatever, we would love to see you get up and go outside and walk for 20 or 30 minutes. Or if you have a treadmill, or if you just have a house that you can walk around. I mean, honestly, you can walk around the kitchen island, whatever you have to do to just get up and move your body, because that can make such a big difference in your digestion, making sure that our body really is processing all that food that we just ate. So it's not necessarily, we're not saying you have to go to the gym and like do this massive workout, before and after a meal or something like that. But getting some movement even before the meal can really help move things. And then sit down, relax a little bit. And then afterwards, go for a 20 to 30 minute walk. You can, if the weather's nice, get the neighbors outside and you guys play touch football, you go for a bike ride, whatever it is. Like, go for a hike together. There's so many different things. Of course, I don't love snow, but if it's snowing and you love snow, then go build a snowman, get outside, have a snowball fight, something like that. But it's not a.
Yeah, like the snowball fight in the elf, guys. Let's recreate that this year, please.
There you go. He was burning a lot of calories throwing those snowballs, wasn't he? So it's not about burning the calories though. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how to make your gut happy during the holidays and to not feel restricted. And so that's what I would say is really getting some movement in immediately following your dinner, your lunch, whatever it is. I promise you may still be really full, but you will feel so much better going for a little simple walk for 10, 15, 20 minutes following that meal.
Yeah, I even think about just so a lot of people travel on the holidays. I mean, we typically do. And the movement part of it is like traveling, you're sitting in the car. I mean, if you're driving or flying, so you're sitting the whole time. Then you get to the holiday meal and you're sitting and you're eating. And then you sit post just to like socialize with, friends and family you haven't seen forever. So change it up. I know for us, we typically try, like, we'll drive. So we try to get up the morning that we drive and we'll go to the gym or we do a family walk so that the kids are involved. That also helps them sleep in the car. But it gets the momentum going even the day before the holiday meal, right? Like, so, I mean, start it like the day you have your holiday break starts, start the movement. That is so easy and so key. So thanks, Diana, for that tip because I think it's huge. And then let's jump into number 4, which is something I think people don't even realize they're doing, but it's the all day snacking. So, Diana, talk to us a little bit about this. Is probably one of the hardest things. Like, talk to us a little bit about why we should, potentially avoid that all day snacking, and what it does to us, and what are some of your, ways to work around this.
Yeah, a lot of times during the holidays, it is just kind of like one big giant charcuterie board. Like it's just a free for all. And you don't think about it, but just grabbing one piece of food here and one piece of food there, you're like, oh, well, it's really not that much. So again, it's not really about the calories. It's actually about a happy gut. And what happens in between our meals, and this is why for most people, again, we're not doctors and not everybody is the same, but for most people listening, eating 3 meals a day, fasting in between those meals, is actually what's best for us because our body goes through these natural detoxification processes in between each meal to help with digestion, to help with elimination, and to process those toxins. And so in order for our body to do those, I'm kind of doing my hands in sweeping motions because our body kind of goes through natural sweeping motions to help kind of move those toxins and move that digestion and move those foods out of our body. And so if we're constantly grazing and constantly snacking, our body's constantly doing that. So we want it to just be able to take a break in between and only have last time's meal to have to mess with, right? And then the next meal and so on and so forth. So not constantly grazing. And that's honestly too, we talked a bit ago about feeling bloated, about feeling gassy, sluggishness, the brain fog, irritability, all those things. It could be just because a lot of times, I mean, think about it. When you're just like walking by and grazing, most of the time that's not going to be some kind of a protein, right? A lot of times that's going to be a chip, a cracker, some kind of carbohydrate or something. And so that's going to bloom that bacteria, again, causing the digestion to like have to work all the time. So we really want to have those breaks in between each of those meals. So my suggestion too would be to make sure that like when you wake up in the morning, let's say that you're having lunch at 2:00 or something like that. Sure, maybe you don't want to have a huge breakfast, a huge lunch, and then go to your meal, but get up, have your protein in the morning, have your eggs, like something that you're normally, planning on doing. Let it be a normal morning. Get some movement in, like Angela said. Actually, Todd and I, because we're both actually off work on Thanksgiving Day or, on a holiday, Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever, we enjoy getting up and getting that movement in. So we use that time to have time together to get to exercise together. So we'll make sure that we do that. We eat a good breakfast and not go into this meal like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. And then you just eat and eat and eat, or you snack like crazy going into that meal. So that's what my suggestion would be, is to eat your breakfast. That way you don't snack all day long, and just look forward at that stuff that you want to snack on. Put it on your plate for your lunch or your dinner. Start with your protein and then finish with those things. So you still get to have them. You're not restricted from having them. You're just having them in the right order and probably quite a bit less.
Oh, for sure, quite a bit less. Your body is just going to be fuller from the nutrient-rich protein and not want as much. So that's huge, because I think the mindset is I'll just snack my way through the holidays. So that's going to really make you change your mindset there and do things differently this year. And then speaking of mindset and doing things differently this year, let's jump into number 5, because this is definitely going to ruffle some feathers, but it also saves people so much. Number 5 is going to be choose alcohol or dessert. not both. So, Diana, speak to us about that concept for people this holiday season.
Well, for me, this one's easy. Alcohol is not something that is super important to me. I would choose dessert. So we suggest as Gut Girls that you're either choosing alcohol or you're choosing dessert. You're not doing both, right? And so both of those things are going to break down into sugar. So that's alcohol and the dessert. So you don't want to load up on doing both of them. And of course, we just talked about the order in which you eat and saving these things for last because you've eaten your protein, then you've eaten some of the things you wanted to snack on. And so you're probably not going to have a ton of alcohol after that or a ton of dessert after that. Choose one or the other. And so if you do like to have an alcoholic beverage, everybody else is kind of sitting around with their pretty drinks or whatever. There's a couple of different things. Some of you might think it's silly because you love to have your glass of wine or your brandy or your Jack Daniels or whatever. I'm from down the road from where they make Jack Daniels, about 15 minutes down the road. So a lot of people around here drink Jack Daniels, but those can just feel so heavy. And so some of the things that I really like to do is just use a strawberry lemonade collagen. It has a little bit of protein in it. It's pretty. You can put it over some ice and just sip on it and drink it. There's some herbal teas and things, if you want to do something like that. Or you just say, you know what, that's something that I'm just going to skip. I'm going to look forward to socializing during the meal, and just have my water and socialize with my family and friends, and not worry so much about drinking the alcohol. But if you do love both, we're suggesting that you make a decision, you make a choice. I'm going to either drink alcohol or I'm going to have dessert, and both of them should be after the meal. That way you're not overloading it.
Yeah, we're just asking you guys not to be a glutton. And I'm not saying that in a rude way. It's the hard truth. And sometimes you do need to hear it. We always remind our clients, like, in a year's time, there are unlimited amounts of holidays and celebrations and anniversaries and birthdays. So, like, throughout the whole year, honestly, like, look ahead a little bit and decide, like, hey, I'm going to go out with my spouse this night for an anniversary and we're going to enjoy a glass of wine. Like, we're going to do it. Awesome. Okay, but then the holidays are right around the corner, but that's going to be more for us about family. So we're going to socialize and maybe share a piece of dessert or have our own piece of dessert after the dinner, like Dana said. But you see how I'm making it like super intentional, right? So I'm showing up with intention and I'm eating with intention, and that helps. And that can be so changing, I think, for people going into the holidays and how they look at the year ahead of them. Okay, so then number 6, this is huge. I love this concept because I think it helps people so much, but there's also controversy over it. So we would say eat before you go to the holiday meal, the celebration, whatever it is. And I can already hear people, Diana, I want you to speak to the person that's like, what? Why would I do that? I'm showing up for Thanksgiving, holiday, Christmas meal. You're telling me to eat before I go? Like, speak to that person that is listening that thinks we are just wild to say this.
Yeah, well, and I kind of hit on it a couple of different times in some of the other tips earlier too, where it's like, some people just think, oh, I'm just going to eat one meal and that's all I'm going to eat for the day. And really, a lot of times that can a lot of people struggle with that because of regulation of their blood sugar. It's not good for them to just eat that one meal. And so again, we talked about blooming the wrong bacteria. And there's just so many different things that affects your digestion in such a big way. So again, like you said, sometimes people are like, what, you eat before you go to Thanksgiving dinner? But so again, maybe we don't eat like 3 eggs and, this huge breakfast, but at least eat a couple of eggs. Get you some berries, maybe some nuts and seeds, like have some protein, some fats, some good carbohydrates like in berries that can really help, like provide you with some antioxidant support or whatever, kind of going into that. And so having like kind of this well-balanced meal in the morning kind of sets the blood sugar regulation for the day. We want to make sure that you're not starving when you show up, because generally I would imagine that if I took a poll of everybody listening, do you overeat during Thanksgiving dinner? And I mean, can you even imagine anybody saying no? Everybody says yes, right? And so we're trying to just keep you from overeating, overindulging. And we want to make sure that Thanksgiving, we talked about this with Thanksgiving, with Christmas, all the holidays and stuff, making sure that the priority is the socialization of the people that you love, your friends and your family. It's really, truly not about the meal. The meal is, our food is meant to fuel our body. It's meant to be our medicine. And so it's not about just like going and having this gigantic meal. And sure, we look forward to some of the foods that Aunt Bethy or whatever, Aunt Betsy or whoever prepares for whatever. And that's fine. We want you to indulge in that. And that's why we're saying this is not about restriction, but we're just reminding you that make this about socialization. Make it about your time with your friends and your family and not necessarily one giant meal.
Yeah, I think of like, as you were talking, I was like, okay, let's be so honest for a second. I hear people often say, like, I've saved up all year for this meal. And honestly, I laugh because I'm like, wait a second. We are adults and we live in America. Like, what do you mean you've been saving up all year? You could make whatever you wanted any time of the year. I mean, guys, we're so blessed in a sense that I'm like, we don't, it's not like we have nothing available all year and then suddenly it gets shipped in and we can just like, eat all of it. So like, I hope that sticks with you this year and you kind of laugh with us to be like, no, like they're real. Like changing the mindset about this actually makes you kind of laugh. And Dinah, not to go off topic for a second, but I actually have to bring this up because it speaks to so much of how you've transformed. And it actually, it motivated me. But going back to, speaking of holidays, what was it that we just had? Halloween. You were like, I actually kind of laugh at the thought of Halloween nowadays, like to get our kids just loaded up on candy, like it literally hit me where I was like, oh my gosh, that people need to hear you say that. Like, it's so true. When you sit back and you really think about what we do sometimes, it's silly, right? It's quite frankly just silly. So I do hope that definitely sticks with y'all. And then let's get so funny. We're going to get back on track with number 7, which is, guys, get back on track immediately. So meaning, like, this is actually one of my favorite parts of the guide because it removes the shame, honestly, around the holidays. But it's like, okay, have grace. And if you do indulge in something, Dinah, speak to what everyone wants to hear about how to get back on track the right way, when this happens.
So it's really simple, actually. Get back on track the next day. If Aunt Betsy or whoever made your favorite pie and she wants you to, she wants to send you home with, the pie and a half extra that is left over, say no. Say no because you're going to eat it. So I don't come home with leftovers unless it's turkey or, something like that, or something the girls are just, I could put into their lunch or something like that. Then we just don't come home with leftovers. So I would say get back on track the very next day. Don't let it linger. I mean, let's be honest. You were just talking about Halloween. I'm so glad you brought that up because I feel like we didn't mention it on some of the other podcasts, but it's so funny. Todd and I laugh about it. Now that our girls are teenagers, we don't do the trick-or-treating thing anymore. They have chosen not to do that. They just hang out with their friends. But it's so funny when you think about it. You're like, so we have them go door to door, gather as much candy as humanly possible with red dyes, sugar, you name it, all the bad things that are going to cause inflammation. Just going to wreak havoc on their moods, on their behavior. And then we expect them to be good kids, right? We get mad at them. And so you've started here with Halloween on October 31st. You roll through Thanksgiving looking forward to Aunt Betsy's meal at Thanksgiving or whatever it is, or, whoever makes whatever pie for Christmas Day or whatever that is. And you look forward to those meals. And so then you just kind of graze all throughout the weeks, going to different holiday parties, school parties, company events, whatever the case may be. And it just kind of keeps going and keeps going. And the next thing you know, you're like, I'm getting back on track on January 2nd. And you're like, it has been from October 31st to January 2nd. And listen, guys, I am 100% guilty of this. I mean, I really am. I promise. That was my life. I didn't understand how to get back on track. I didn't know what that meant. And so we're here to educate you and tell you that I would not suggest doing that. Enjoy your times with the socialization, but don't let it go from Halloween to January 2nd. You can get right back on track and it won't totally derail you, I promise you. Let the holiday be a day, maybe two, if you have multiple different things to go to, but then get right back on track the next day and don't let it linger until January.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like we've changed lives today, Diana. So
I hope so.
yes, exactly. I actually love hearing this from you as a gut girl, like how, you've transformed and what the world looks like for you now, because you look at it through healing, right? You look at it through purpose and through medicine, like food is medicine. And so that's so awesome. So guys, this to me feels so doable. I mean, so approachable, so doable. There's no guilt in it. There's no extremes. It's just simple strategies and they help you enjoy the holidays, but yet they protect your gut. This is the type of stuff that we provide you with in our membership. We want it to be within your reach. And so if you want this whole thing, we actually have a holiday guide. It's like a printable checklist and it is in our Gut Girls membership under the resources. So we would love to have you join us in our membership. And if this hit home for you and you were like, wow, Dana's inspired me the way she's inspired me, guys, and you want to become one of our Gut Girl members, please reach out to us. And we would love to have you in our membership.
All right. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. We will catch you on the next one. The Gut Girls podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. We are not acting as licensed medical professionals. Always consult your doctor before making any changes to your health routine.